Hello and good afternoon everybody, and welcome back once again for another video of DIY investing. There's a few really important details that are unfolding inside of Bitcoin's market, and I really want to talk to you about them today before anything crazy happens and you guys are left kind of sitting there wondering what to do next. This is something that I've been watching for about a week now, and I see the similarities and correlations playing out closer and closer as the days go by, and so I wanted to update you guys and talk about some of my analysis with what I'm seeing with things moving forward inside of Bitcoin. On top of that, we're also going to be diving in and taking a look at XRP, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys my ultimate targets for the best entries that we're going to find. I honestly think that this is the greatest buying opportunity that we're going to get inside of crypto, and the great time for buying is almost over, and it's important that we jump on this opportunity while it's still here and fresh in our minds. Remember guys, the people that are buying now when everything is the most fearful are the ones that are going to be cashing out and making the most profitable ROIs 2 years from now when everybody starts taking profits. If you're somebody that's sitting here too scared to take the entries when everything's going low, then you're going to be the person that's stuck FOMOing into all of our bags that we're selling to you. If you're new and just finding this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more updates like the one provided for you here. Make sure you click that notification bell so that you get updated on every single video I post. Remember guys, less than 2 weeks left to jump on my course and signals. We're doing a 50% off pre-sale until the new year, so you guys are definitely going to want to check that out. I've been putting forth a lot of time and energy into making this course so great. It's got over 20 educational videos that I've been spending a lot of time implementing that teaches you guys all of my specific strategies that I use to profit inside of the market. If you're looking for my course, or if you want to find a community that you can trust, click the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. You guys can message me on there for questions regarding the course, or if you just want to join the community and jump in there, you can also find me through that. I also have a number of different links and referrals so that you guys can get a hold of me through other means, whether it's email, Twitter. I have all of those in the description in the video, and there you're going to be able to get access to me through all of my social media platforms. With all that being said, guys, let's jump right in the video today. So here we are guys, taking a look at Bitcoin. Now I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple things real quick before we jump into the actual XRP analysis. Now with Bitcoin, I've been noticing something play out, and it's been something that I've been updating you guys with previously. Now obviously we had our first major impulse. Now a lot of people are questioning, wondering exactly if this is in fact the start of the new bull market, or if this is just a bigger term correction before we go much lower, maybe down to $1,000 in this cycle. And to be quite honest, I think that that's kind of comical that a lot of people are still believing on that. I mean, this was a major impulse. We saw us go from about $3,200 all the way upwards of about $14K. And I don't think that this is any reason to be major bearish, especially for more downside in the cycle. This is the way that the cycles work. I mean, from the all-time high of the move, we corrected about 85% down. So yeah, roughly 84% from the all-time high down to the low of this cycle. And then we had a major impulse. Now the thing about this impulse is it was very drastic, and that's why we saw it go so high. And I think that the reason why we're seeing so much sell pressure is just because of the severity of the rise. Now previously in Bitcoin cycles, we've usually had a little small leg ups that were maybe half the size of this move. And so for that reason, I think that that's why we're seeing a little bit more of a prolonged selling inside of this short-term bear cycle. Now with that being said, we're still being held underneath this major descending resistance. We've had multiple reactions to try and break outside of this descending resistance, only to fail with each attempt. Now this is a very strong bearish trend, and it's going to take a very strong bullish move and breakout before we can actually shift our awareness towards more of a bull phase. So until that happens, I'm still watching for more downside, but there is something that's playing out right now that I want you guys to be aware of, and I've got a couple possibilities to kind of share with you guys to spread your awareness towards what I'm watching for. Now this is kind of what I'm seeing. Now before we draw this black line, let's go take a look at my older analysis. This was the black line that I had drawn. This was our resistance line, and when we sold through this, I told you guys that we were going to be bearish and we were going to expect to see more bearish continuation until we could actually break above this 78.50 level right here. And what happened was we sold through that level and we got rejected 2 or 3 different times right here. And so this is obviously showing that there's a lot of sell pressure coming from this region. Now what has happened since my last update is we kind of sold off a little bit, but we ended up getting a strong buyback. And this is actually an example of a bullish engulfing candle. Now, generally speaking, what I want to see inside of a bullish engulfing candle is I like to see this. Now, before I jump ahead of myself, what is a bullish engulfing candle? A bullish engulfing candle is where you have a big buy candle that eats and dwarfs about 3 to 4 plus red candles. And so this is what we saw here. We saw a red candle right here. Let's make these a little bit bigger, actually. We had a red candle right here. We had another one right here. And then we had another one right here, right? And this big green buy candle came in and dwarfed all three of those. In fact, we closed above all three of those candles, right? And so this is an example of a bullish engulfing candle. And this is generally what you tend to find before the reversal of a trend. Now, the fact that I expect to see a reversal very soon, just mainly because of the fact we've already corrected so low in this retrace. I mean, at the bottom of that candle was about a 53% correction. So that's a very sharp decline. I mean, I wasn't really expecting us to go below 30 to 40%, but we have continued to surprise in this little bear cycle. And that's why this cycle is going to differ from all the other ones in times past. And that's why we have to be aware of these things before they kind of play out. Now, this is generally what you see before a trend reversal. It doesn't mean that we have to start impulsing right now. In fact, we could see new lows. But I do expect that if we do see new lows from here, it's going to be short-lived, and that should be the final impulse of that bear cycle. Now, this is kind of what I'm going to be watching for inside of Bitcoin. The fact that we do have this bullish consolidation happening towards the terminal end of a correction, or what I personally would view the terminal end of a correction. Really all we need to see right now is this break from descending resistance. Once we can break from that, I believe it's a go to see further upside. Now, with that being said, guys, you already know that my targets have been drawn for a while. We have targets set at 6,300, so about right here approximately. They're not going to be exact. 5,800, and then we have some set at 5,300. And these are going to be my targets that I'm watching for accumulation inside of Bitcoin. Now, we've almost hit my first target. I do expect this last retrace to be the final one. I don't know exactly how low we're going to go, so I just have my 3 set here, and that's where I'm going to be looking to accumulate if, in fact, we do drop lower. Now, this takes me to the current consolidation that I'm seeing right now, and I'm actually going to draw another resistance line. And this is going to go right here at about 74.60, 74.50, right around that zone. Now, what I'm watching for currently is the fact we sold and rejected through my first resistance zone at about 78.50, and then we have now fallen through this next support cluster, which is now acting as resistance, and this was the support cluster that we saw right about here. And this was before the final impulse into Bitcoin's hype cycle up towards to 14K. And now this bullish engulfing candle has come and retested that. Now, we've retested the low of this previous impulse back into this descending resistance, and we're also retesting the lows of the last support cluster before the final impulse. Now, to me, until we can clear above that, then we're only going to expect to see more bearish downside. It is possible we could see another green candle that buys us back up, but these are really my 2 resistance zones that I'm watching. If we can clear back above 74.60, then my next resistance is going to be 78.50, and once we clear above those 2, I think that that will most likely set us up for that break of descending resistance. But we're just going to have to kind of watch and see what the market gives us. Now, as of right now, this is more of a bearish retest, because until we do start making a higher high or a significant breach of this descending triangle, then there's no reason to be ultra bullish, in my opinion. I do see the early signs, and that's why I am watching this very closely in this time. Now, this gets me into my last part for this Bitcoin update before we actually jump into XRP. If I pull up the RSI, you guys are going to see something playing out. Now, this is something that I usually always target when I'm looking for the bottom of a correction, because it usually plays out more closely than a lot of other indicators. Now, I don't use a ton of indicators in my personal analysis. I like to use a lot of price action, and I'm actually more confident in playing price action. But one of the few indicators that I will use is actually the RSI. Now, the RSI is a momentum indicator, and it shows the direction of a trend, and it can actually show the shift of a trend shortly before it happens. Now, this is an example of bullish divergence, and generally speaking, what bullish divergence is when the RSI starts making higher highs and starts uptrending, whereas price itself is continuing in a downtrend, right? And so we can see we had higher highs on the RSI since about the end of September. But in that same time, we've only maintained lower lows inside of Bitcoin's price. This is a prime example of a bullish divergence setup, and the fact that we're getting this bullish engulfing candlestick right here shows to me that this trend is very close to reversing, and I think that the early signs are here, and that's why I want to talk to you guys about this. Now, we don't have to come back down and hit my lower targets down here. In fact, we could start impulsing from here on up, and I'd be fine with that. It's something that we got to pay attention for, and that's why really right now is the best buying opportunity that we're going to get. If it goes a little bit lower, that's even better. But if it doesn't, I'm not necessarily worrying so much about a few percentage return. When in actuality, the markets are so cheap right now that this is an excellent time to be buying in general. And honestly, I didn't expect us to get these low of prices. And so I'm doing everything that I possibly can to just keep accumulating and keep growing my crypto. Because at the end of the day, guys, the more crypto we buy in this time, 2 years from now, that's thousands and thousands of dollars, depending on how much you're investing right now. And so it's really important that we jump on the opportunity while it's still here. Now, by taking a look at this, I have a possibility and a scenario that I'm watching out for inside of the market. Now, with this currently, with this bullish divergence, I do believe that I'm expecting more downside in the altcoins. Now, with that being said, I think that something that could happen is, who knows, maybe we start impulsing here, maybe we drop down for one more low, takes us back down to about 58 to 6,300, right around that time frame, or right around that price range, and then we end up getting that sizable increase, right? And then we kind of consolidate back down, and then we continue up in the cycle. Now, with that being said, guys, I do expect the alts to continue to bleed off a little bit lower, especially on the Bitcoin pairs. The Bitcoin pairs are going to continue to drop, and I think that that's becoming more and more prevalent as I look through the charts themselves. And so with that being said, guys, whether Bitcoin starts impulsing now or we go for one more low, I think that what can happen is when we do get that breakout inside of Bitcoin, we break this bearish trend, I almost wonder if the scenario that I'm watching for is once we break this bearish trend, I think that that impulse, that first immediate impulse, would actually bleed the alts for a short term. And that could happen right now where we're at. We could go for one more low before the breakout. But either way, I would expect that this breakout would temporarily bleed the altcoins because everybody's going to be quick to FOMOing into Bitcoin, especially right now since there's so much fear inside of the altcoins. They've only continued to kind of go down. Some of them made impulses with the initial leg up inside of Bitcoin, but certain coins, maybe like XRP, for example, they've only gone lower. And so there's a lot more fear involved with these assets. And so I would assume that once we actually start the impulse and the breakout of this bearish trend, people are going to be more quick to jump and FOMO into Bitcoin because Bitcoin is still the driver of the market. It's more of a safe haven. There's much more institutional assets and money flooding into this. And so that's what I'm going to be watching out for inside of Bitcoin currently as it stands. Now, with that being said, we could impulse right here where we're at. And if we impulse right now, roughly where we're at, if we maybe sold off just a tiny bit more before that impulse, then I would assume that that would be this likelihood scenario. Now, an opposite approach that could happen is we sell off for one more low, and then the altcoins sell off. But when we do break out inside of Bitcoin, the alts kind of follow suit. And that's another scenario. These are really the two perspectives that I'm watching inside of Bitcoin. But overall, what I currently see and what I'm seeing across the board is specifically Bitcoin is creating this bullish divergence. We have lower lows in price, higher highs on the RSI. That's always a key sign that the terminal end of the correction is over, and that's one of the best buying indicators that you're actually going to get inside of crypto. And this is really the only indicator that I use when I go towards price action because it's more it's easier to follow along, and it's very accurate at predicting bottoms. I mean, right here we had an example of a bullish divergence where we had a lower low in price, and then we had a higher high on the RSI, and that was actually the very bottom inside of Bitcoin. And so it's something that I always watch for, and the fact that we have such major bullish divergence forming with this major bullish engulfing candle, it tells me that we are very close to the bottom of this correction. So if you guys are looking to be buying, now is the time to be doing so. This is not financial advice by any means. I'm just kind of sharing with you guys my own thoughts and perspective. Now, with all that being said, let's actually dive into XRP so I can talk to you guys about what I expect to see and why I think that this is the greatest buying opportunity that we're going to get inside of this market. So here we are, guys, taking a look at XRP on the dollar. Now, I've cleaned up my chart so that we can have a clean slate to just kind of go off of. Now, as of right now, what I'm watching for is roughly the same sort of outlook that I have been watching. Now, I'm going to go through and actually analyze where I've actually accumulated inside of XRP. I had my first buy order set here at about 30 cents, right about there. Accumulated some XRP. I actually accumulated some up here at about 38 cents, FOMO'd a little bit, and then I accumulated some more down here at 26 cents. About right there. And then I had buy orders set at 20 cents. So about right here. And now I had more buy orders set at 17 cents. So about right there. So I've done pretty good at accumulating this dip so far. I've just been averaging down into this position. Now my biggest reason for averaging into this position was the fact that I'm very bullish on XRP in the long term, and I'm not too worried about short-term losses. This is something that I've kind of committed to inside of my own personal trading plan. And I really was not going to be worried if, in fact, XRP sold through that support and we started going lower. Because at the end of the day, I'm very confident in the fundamental use case for XRP. I love the idea that we are going to have cross-border payments, and we can actually start bridging the gap between the banking institutions and the decentralized movement. And I think that XRP is really the front runner in all of that, and it's going to be the one that's first adopted to actually make all of that happen. And so for me, that's what I'm going to be watching out for, and the biggest reason why I've continued to accumulate so much of this asset. Now, XRP is one of my biggest altcoin positions. Other than XRP, I think Tezos is my other biggest, and I'm going to continue to kind of stick with that. I might accumulate a few more. Binance Coin is one on my list, but overall, I'm very confident in XRP moving forward. Now, with that being said, guys, let's remove all drawing tools real quick. I think that this is honestly the best buying opportunity that we're going to get, because XRP, compared to the rest of the altcoins, has only kind of trended down inside of this cycle. There's more fear inside of XRP than any other altcoin for that matter. I mean, you could make the argument that like Zcash or something, but I'm not really worried about Zcash right now. It's not one that's really on my list or priorities. And so for me, I'm talking about XRP because it's number 3 in market cap. This is one of the biggest communities inside of cryptocurrency, and I've experienced that firsthand. I mean, a lot of people that follow me actually came from the XRP community, and all I ever see with those guys is a die-hard supporting fan base. Now, with that being said, a lot of them can have crazy ideas, and a lot of them can kind of come off as a little insane, and I'm not going to disagree with any of that. I've experienced it firsthand. But with that being said, they're the biggest community I've ever seen inside of cryptocurrency. They're very driven towards these this specific asset, and they're very confident in the outcome of this coming out in the future. And so for that reason, I actually see a lot of potential inside of this. Now, I do believe there's a lot of people buying, and there's a lot of fun rumors that come out regarding, XRP holding 50% of the supply, XRP dumping on the token holders. And that's really not the intention of XRP, and I think the people that are spreading those rumors are mainly just spreading FUD. And it's easy to spread FUD on a coin that's dumping, and that's what you're going to continue to see play out. I mean, for me personally, I've been here since 2016. I've got to see all of the different news and things and rumors that come out regarding cryptocurrencies, and something I really vividly remember in the last cycle was the fact that during times of a bear market or during the times of a short-term correction, everybody is going to be attaching price going down to some specific negative bias, whether it's XRP dumping on everybody, whether it's the token holders holding 50% of the supply, whether it's this, whether it's a Ponzi scheme. It doesn't even matter, guys. You're going to be hearing all of these different rumors, all of these things, and it's just human nature to attach an emotional bias towards something external, and that's really just the way that humans work, and that's the way it's going to continue to work. And so we're hearing all of this FUD regarding XRP, prices going down, everything's very fearful, oh my god, what are we going to do? But at the end of the day, it honestly makes me more confident because I see a very thriving community. I see a lot of people supporting this asset, and even though price is going down, I see a lot of people that are very wise towards this kind of price movement. Even if they're very scared right now and they're worrying about their investments going down, I know a lot of people that haven't had the opportunity to trade these cycles, and maybe you got in towards the top of 2017 to 2018. Even if you got in and you're taking losses and you keep averaging down, it's one of those things where it's really emotionally draining if you don't know what you're doing. But at the end of the day, I've seen these cycles before, and really this is the most brutal bear market I've ever been a part of, because when I got into crypto, it was back in here. So I had basically got in towards the very end of that bear market. Now, this is my first full bear market I've actually had to endure, but with that being said, not much has really changed. The only thing that's changed is more of a bearish sentiment, a lot more negative bias towards cryptocurrencies, but that was honestly what's to be expected inside of this correction. Now with that being said, guys, with all of the FUD, with all of the rumors, with all of this downward price action, there's going to be a lot of fear in the market, and that is the best time to be buying, and I can't stress that enough. And so I've trained myself really hard to be able to analyze this and be able to keep my emotions aside when I do actually look to invest into my long-term portfolio. And that's why I wanted to share with you guys this update. Now, I don't think that we're very far off from the bottom. In fact, I think that we're very close to that point. And that's what I'm going to be watching out for. Now, realistically, I have my final bids set at 17 cents, which will be about right here. And then I have another bid set at 15 cents, about right there. Now, with that being said, I do expect that this to be the relative bottom. We do have this final wick that takes us all the way down to about 12 cents. And my friend High Altitude Investing actually mentioned that in one of his later videos. But I don't necessarily expect us to go that low, but it is a possibility and something to watch out for. If we do start impulsing down that low, that would be somewhat of a very capitulative bottom where I would expect prices to kind of sell off and then immediately buy back up, and we'd have kind of this V bottom that would come into effect. And so this is what I'm going to be watching out for inside of XRP. Now with that being said, guys, the amount of fear that's taking place right now is very, very significant. And it reminds me a lot of what we saw back here inside of Bitcoin. Now, if you guys remember, Bitcoin coiled at this 6K support floor inside of this descending triangle for a very long time. In fact, I think it was almost a year's time frame that we coiled inside of this pattern. And we ended up selling through that, and that was a very bloody Christmas. And so this is something to keep a note of, and it's something I actually talked about in my last video. For whatever reason, the new year is a very strong time for reversals, and that's what I'm going to be continuing to watch out for in this time. Now with Bitcoin, from that support floor at roughly $6,500, that's where we're going to base this off of, we sold off about 50% to the bottom of that correction. And I'm watching for roughly the same outcome inside of XRP because we're following a very similar consolidation pattern. Now, if we drop this to maybe like a monthly time frame, we're going to be able to see that this is what you would consider a descending triangle consolidation pattern. And this is actually something I'd been watching out for a while. And if you follow me on Discord, you'll know I talked about this scenario. And this is a descending triangle. Now, what we see here is lower lows and lower highs, but we actually maintain a horizontal support floor for a significant amount of time. In fact, XRP actually held this 6K, or not 6K, this 30-cent support floor for about a year, actually, 365 days until we actually sold through that point. And so this was a very long consolidation pattern, and it was roughly the same in which we saw inside of Bitcoin. And let's actually pull up our date tool and see exactly how long we stayed in here. About 280 days inside of Bitcoin, so roughly a year's time inside of that market as well. And so it's going to create a very sizable retrace, and I think that that's why we're seeing such a strong sell-off taking place right now. It's just the fact that this was a long consolidation pattern, and it needs to play out because we have sold through. Now, with that being said, guys, this was our major reaction and rejection out of side of this descending triangle. This was the breakdown of that move. We sold through support, we retested that, and then we're selling off from that. And so I would expect that this would be the final sell-off inside of this triangle pattern. And if we drop this to a little bit of a bigger time frame, we're going to see how it played out. Now, this is why we're seeing such a strong bearish consolidation and why we're selling off so strongly from this point. Now, from where we were at, I would say that the average was about that 30-cent mark. So from 30 cents, remember Bitcoin, after it sold through 6K support, we actually sold off about 50%. And so I would assume that XRP would continue to follow that trend. And so a 50% drop inside of XRP would take us to about this 15 cent level. And I think that that would be very close to the bottom. Now, not only would that be a 50% decline in price, but it would take us to roughly the very bottom of that 2017 consolidation. Now, this is the whole point of this video right now, is the fact that based off of my analysis and based off of my own personal opinion, I do strongly believe we're actually going to be selling off down to the very bottom of that 2017 correction. Now, you're going to see a lot of top analysts sharing all of their FUD on Twitter, talking about why XRP is a shitcoin, why it's never going to go up, all of these little things. But at the end of the day, you guys got to remember that the average person inside of crypto, even if they have thousands and hundreds of thousands of followers, they're really not the best analysts. And oftentimes, it's more of their personality that is what gets people to follow them. And so with that being said, you're going to see a lot of people saying that, oh my gosh, this is a major descending triangle. We're going to drop all the way back down to less than a cent. And I've seen that everywhere. There's so many people that are sharing that type of analysis. And to be quite honest, if that was the case, then I would expect Bitcoin to actually fall to $1,000, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of value inside of these other projects. A lot of these projects have a real use case and a fundamental perspective that can be implemented today in the world. And I think that XRP is honestly one of the better cryptos in that regard. I mean, we do need this bridgeway between the centralized movement and the financial banking system that we have currently, and XRP is going to be that major adoption to take place between the two perspectives, and the two opposing perspectives, I should say. Now, with that being said, this takes me to the final aspect of this video. This takes me to the actual point that I wanted to make, and this is the greatest buying opportunity that we're ever going to have, and I think the real last good buying opportunity that we're going to get. And people watching this, remember, this is just my personal opinion. It's not financial advice by any means, but what I can say without a doubt is that I'm maximizing my own personal potential by buying as much of this asset as I possibly can. I don't expect us to stay at these significant lows for much longer. I personally am not fearful in the slightest. Even if my short-term bags that I've been buying are still underwater and they continue to drop, I honestly could care less, and it really does not faze me in the slightest, because I've been through the cycles. Even if the previous cycles I'd been through were really short consolidation compared to, you know, this year-long descending triangle, and we're still going lower, it does not change the fact that I'm a very big bull towards the whole idea of cryptocurrency, and specifically XRP, which is the one we're talking about today. I think that from right now, if we sell off and hit my next target at 17 cents approximately, 17 cents to all-time high is going to be over a 20x return. And that's just amazing, guys. It really is mind-blowing to think that we are going to get these sort of reactions and ROIs just based off of buying at a cheap level. Because at the end of the day, right now, from what I've gathered from watching people on Twitter, watching people inside of my comment section when I talk about XRP, and not only that, but people that just kind of reach out to me, as I see a lot of fear right now. And a lot of people are very doubtful of XRP ever going up again. Many people are sitting watching me from the sidelines, and they're saying, you know what, I'd be thankful for a 50% XRP right now. It's never going to hit $1. If we hit the all-time high, it would definitely start selling off from there. And it's people that are so sure of themselves that honestly paint the most emotional psychology that you're going to get inside of the market. And so by analyzing these people, I've got a pretty solid understanding of what we could expect moving forward. Now, remember guys, it's over a 21x return if you buy at 17 cents, and if you manage to scoop some XRP up at about 15 cents, to the all-time high of that move is going to be almost 25x returns. That's only to the all-time high. And I can't stress how great of an opportunity that is, and it's the people that are getting in now that are going to make life-changing gains. Even if it's so scary right now, even if the market's tanking and crashing before their very eyes and nobody's making money because everybody's just continuing to see the market go down, that is why it's such a great time to be buying. And so I'm going to be doing everything that I can to take all extra cash that I have and deploying them inside of the market, specifically XRP, because this is one of the best risk-to-reward ratios that I see inside of the market. Remember, guys, a lot of the other altcoins, when Bitcoin made its leg up, they followed suit and they made a leg up, and they've kind of been selling off from that leg. And so a lot of the altcoins kind of look like this. You had a market cycle, they crashed, they bottomed, and then they made their first little leg up, and they're selling off in this move. Whereas XRP, for example, kind of did the opposite approach, where we've kind of consolidated and now we're selling off even lower. And so this one has the best risk to reward, because even when the altcoins kind of made a leg up right here, you're still buying at roughly this average price. With XRP, you're buying way down in here. And so you're going to get a much higher ROI for that matter. Now, a lot of people watching me are going to immediately jump in the comment section and try and destroy me, saying, oh, well, it's only made lower lows. Why on earth would you even try and buy this asset? The best thing to do would be to short this thing into the ground. And while I'm not disagreeing, you can definitely take your short opportunities now. I just expect the short opportunities to be not very long-lived, and it's more risk involved with me trying to short this thing, especially because I'm a long-term trend trader. I'm really not much of a day trader, and I don't care to do so until the actual bull market ensues. After we break all-time highs, I do a lot of day trading because it's much more profitable. The risk is very, very minimal because the retraces just really aren't there. And so you can make a lot of money day trading, and you can leverage trade and make a decent gain doing so. But with me personally, Inside of the bear market, I've developed this specific strategy for myself to just kind of buy, accumulate, average into my positions. Now, this is a good way to get wrecked if you don't know what you're doing, but I've been here for over 3.5 years. I've been trading these cycles and I've been investing, and I kind of know my own personal strategy. I know which coins that I like, and I know which ones that I think are going to continue to survive based off of the fundamental aspect. Now, this is really what I had for you guys. This is what I'm watching out for inside of XRP and Bitcoin for that matter. Really, I'm just watching for my final 2 price targets to get hit. If we go any lower than that, I'm going to continue to buy because I don't expect it to be very long-lived. I do expect this to be almost the terminal end of the correction, whether Bitcoin kind of pumps and bleeds the alts for one more low, or whether it kind of sells off for one more low, and then when Bitcoin breaks out of its downtrend, we rise together. That's what I'm going to be watching out for. Overall, guys, I'm still watching for this fractal to play out. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go check out my other videos on XRP, and I have detailed analysis explaining the market cycle comparisons between this cycle and the one that we're experiencing now. Even though there's a little bit of a difference between this one making a higher high and this one kind of selling off inside of this descending triangle, overall, not much has changed. I still see the similarities, and I think that the overall big picture trend is still very much in play. Don't listen to all of the FUD that's taking place inside of the market, between XRP holding so much of the supply, between XRP dumping on all of the investors. Nobody's going to be talking about that a year or two down the line when XRP is breaking all-time highs and going into price discovery. In fact, you're only going to be hearing about why all of those things were a good thing. And so just don't listen to the FUD, don't listen to the rumors. Keep your emotions outside and just remember to focus on what really matters. And what really matters is the fact that we have a very early market cycle, a very parabolic trend developing, and that parabolic trend is not nearly to what I would expect to be done or completed. I think that we have a lot more profit potential and upside to come, which is why I'm targeting, $9, $15, and $28. And so if that hits my price targets, right, one last thing before we wrap it up. If I'm able to scoop some at 17 cents, which I do expect I will be able to, at 17 cents to my first target at $9, it's going to be about a 50x return. Next target, $15, is going to be about a 90x return. And then $28 would be about 163x return. And so that's life-changing money, and I'm going to do my best interest to just continue to invest, continue to stick to my plan, and trade that plan with no emotions attached, because at the end of the day, I'm very confident in these assets, and I'm very confident in my own ability as an analyst and an investor inside of the cryptocurrency market. With all that being said, guys, thank you so much for the support. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you don't miss any more updates like the one provided for you here. On top of that, you guys are definitely going to want to check out my trading course, over 20 educational videos that I've spent a ton of time developing and implementing so that you guys know my ultimate trading strategies and how I use this to profit inside of the cryptocurrency market. We're doing a 50% off pre-sale until the new year, so you got less than 2 weeks to jump in on that before this new bull market start in 2020. Make sure you click the invitation link in the description of this video, and there you're going to get access to my Discord server. You're going to be able to message me on there if you have questions regarding the course, or you can email me by clicking the description inside of this video, and there you're going to get all of my social media handles on top of that. Thank you guys so much for the support. I will catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.